So Milgram was an American psychologist who was very perplexed by how so many good people in Germany had done so many bad things during the war. And he set up an experiment in which volunteers were asked to do something highly unethical to please an authority, which in this case was only a scientist in a white coat. And in the experiment, the volunteer had to ask questions of an actor. He didn't know this was an actor, but an actor in the next studio. And any time the answers were wrong, the volunteer had to deliver an electric shock. Now, in fact, it wasn't a real shock, of course, but he didn't know that. The question was, this is a highly, highly unethical thing to do. Would anybody obey? There are a couple of really important things about Milgram's experiments which people often seem to have forgotten. And one is that before he did the experiment, he asked very, very large numbers of people what did they think would happen? How would they behave? And universally everyone said, well, nobody's going to go in and give an innocent man an electric shock. The electric shocks were on a sliding scale, which meant with each successive wrong answer, the shock became more intense until it went to 450 volts, which is a lethal dose. Surely, everyone said, no one, as a volunteer in a scientific experiment, is going to kill a participant. When Milgram conducted the experiment, fully 65% of participants went all the way. This experiment has been repeated all over the world ever since. At no point has there been any meaningful statistical variation in that outcome. At the time that Milgram did it, lots of people were so shocked by the outcome, it was so counter to their expectation, that they tried to explain it away. In one instance, they said, well, somehow, subliminally, subconsciously, these volunteers must have known that this was an actor, that it wasn't really real. Maybe the actor wasn't a very good actor. So some other scientists replicated the experiment, only this time using a puppy dog, on the grounds that, puppy dogs can't act. And in this case, with the little fluffy dog, men and women alike went all the way, 100% of them. First of all, he pointed out this was not an experiment about aggression. It was not an experiment about violence. He said he didn't find aggression. He said there's no anger, vindictiveness, or hatred in those who shocked the victim. Men do become angry, they do act hatefully and explode in rage against others, but not here. Something far more dangerous is revealed. The capacity for man to abandon his humanity, indeed, the inevitability that he does so. The inevitability that he does so as he merges his unique personality into larger institutional structures. And he went on to say, although a person acting under authority performs actions that seem to violate standards of conscience, it would not be true to say he loses his moral sense. Instead, it acquires a radically different focus. His moral concern now shifts to a consideration of how well he is living up to the expectations that the authority has of him. In other words, instead of thinking about, am I doing the right thing, he's thinking about, am I doing the thing well enough? I can think of no better explanation for a lot of the hijinks at News Corporation.